Welcome to Making It Here. This is my co-host Selina, and I'm Brant. We're indoors. It's a little bit of a switch up, and we're here with Camilo, Model Bean Coffee. Hi. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming. Yeah, thanks for coming. Welcome.
Your beautiful space. So, I guess there's a lot of ways I could start. I'll just say, how did you come to be? How did this place come to be? Right from the very beginning.
Right from the very beginning. Dates and all, okay.
As you can. Yeah.
We moved to Kelowna about 4 years ago. We moved in the fall of 2019. My wife and I, we have 3 kids, and we moved here for a job. There was an opportunity for me to stop doing a lot of traveling with the industry that I was working for. Had me traveling quite a bit, and the job that we found in Kelowna was that next step in our lives where I can be in one place and stay in one place. And then we all know what happened in the spring of 2020, and there was no more job.
Dang.
So we started Model Bean Coffee. I guess we started out of necessity or boredom or whatever you want to call it, and then it snowballed into this. So where you're sitting, where you're sipping on, it's been in the making for I guess 3 years now. We started just roasting at home, small batch. I called my cousins back home one day and said, "Hey, could you send me some coffee? I want to see if I can maybe sell it to friends and family." And because I'm Colombian, because I was born in Colombia, I thought I knew everything there is to know about coffee, obviously, but I had no idea. And I actually had the opportunity to travel back to the farm and really get into the fields and learn from the workers and my family of what it really takes to produce a good cup of coffee. So fast forward to 2021, we started doing the farmers market. We attended the Kelowna farmers market. I was just selling, the little bags of coffee. We had a small little booth where we were selling our beans and kind of telling our story. And I guess the product or the necessity of something different made us start making coffee for people. So we weren't necessarily a coffee bar by any means, or we didn't make coffee. We just roasted and sold the beans. But people wanted to try it, and from sampling, it became that we would bring a little thermos with just samples of coffee, to then buying a little espresso machine, and then eventually we had a big trailer that the friend at the market was like, "No, it's too big, you can't bring it." Friend, if you're watching, I love you. And then it just gave us the opportunity to open up our first shop, brick and mortar. So we're super happy that something that just it was so natural. The growth was so natural, and now we're here. It's only 3 years into I guess a hobby of a business that turned into a real money-making business.
Incredible.
That's, I guess, the long story short.
And you can be home with your family and your kids.
Yes,
that must be
that is the best thing.
added benefit.
Being at the farmers market, we were at the market every Wednesday, every Saturday, and we loved being at the market. We bring the kids, and they would help out. And now that we have this, they still come around, they still help out. But now we're able to take weekends off and really enjoy, going out as a family and doing other things together as a family. So we're pretty happy.
Nice.
I love that. And how did you come up with the name, Model Bean Coffee?
So let's go back to 2020. 2020, when I got my first batch of beans that I decided to roast myself. So my very first roast, I probably burned all the beans. And there was a couple of them that came out so good. and I kind of lined them up, and they were so pretty and so beautiful. And I said to my wife, look, it's like they're modeling to me. And that's how we came up with Model Bean Coffee.
Cool. Well, I know a European local man who's very particular about his coffee. He almost doesn't drink coffee around the Okanagan.
Mm-hmm.
And he was around the markets, and I remember distinctly seeing him when you started. You always had your kids around, your wife there, and it was just this little, like this tiny little space, like you said, and it just expanded till you had that ginormous trailer.
Yeah.
And this gentleman said to me, I don't drink anything but Model Bean coffee.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because he was used to finest quality from Europe, and he said North America, there's just so much coffee that doesn't make the cut for him.
Right.
And he said, your coffee really did. And so that's one of the reasons that I really started thinking about what made you different.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing such a family operation was just beautiful. Watching all of you, going to the market's not that easy. You get up at 4 or 5 a.m.
It's a little work.
You go there, but your family is always smiling and laughing and working together, and that's just not something you see every day. And I think really is missing from a lot of local
Yeah,
places.
I think we really enjoyed going there, and yes, it was a lot of work. At first, not so much. It was more of an adventure. Let's just go and talk to people and offer our product, and then it just became this big rush because it was the trailer, and we had lineups for days, and it was go go go. But we were still happy. At the end of the day, we would look back and be like, oh my God, we served I don't know how many people. And just seeing everybody, like I said, enjoying our product and the reaction to the taste of something new or different, it's a good feeling. Our product is a premium product. Obviously, it's harvested a little bit different than just mass-produced coffee, totally organic. And I think that's the biggest difference on our product, right? I mean, there's a lot of other people that have great coffee, but we kind of pride ourselves in just having that direct trade connection with family farms, and having the ability to bring it here so fresh. It's another excellent key point for us because we probably have the freshest coffee in Western Canada. So,
Wow. So I guess I want to take you back to growing up as a kid. Like, were you how can I think of the line? Were you perked in an environment of, the coffee has a special place in the world, that it's grown at certain altitudes and certain soils with certain moisture levels in the very air itself, and then that product gets shipped to every corner of the world. I mean, there's people in Antarctica stations that are drinking coffee, and literally every corner of the world. So were you raised in this sense of making coffee is a very special thing because it's one of the only products that's made in very special locations and then sent everywhere right from there, almost unadulterated, like it's not made into 50 different things before it goes.
right.
What did you experience as a culture of coffee?
I guess growing up in Colombia, as a kid, you don't really understand the concept of something being that good. And because we grew up with it, we were so used to having good stuff all the time, right? And then going back to what happened in 2020, that's when we found out that it was different. Just because we couldn't get it anymore at that point, we couldn't go back home and bring a bag or two back with us. We started buying whatever was at the market shelves or the supermarkets. And we noticed it was a little bit different than what we were used to. And that's kind of when I decided, okay, I need to learn more about this. Why is this so different? And again, like I said, I had the opportunity to travel during pandemic, and I fell in love with the culture and learning. Well, I guess mostly experiencing what the farmers actually go through to get that product out and in our hands. It's not as easy as people think. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of coffee everywhere in the world, but it's a lot of work to get it out here, especially good organic coffee. It's very very hard. So I didn't really understand it as a kid, but I do now, and I appreciate it a lot.
And is there a political side to, being able to actually still grow in this environment now that's so corporate and, volume over quality? How have you learned about how this is different?
I guess I get that question a lot in a different way. And the best answer to that is you would never see my product in a supermarket shelf, just because it is something that is almost unique. It is coffee, but it is a unique taste, and you can't get it anywhere else other than at our shops or the actual places where we brew it ourselves or have taught somebody how to brew our type of coffee. So I guess I can compare it to the craft breweries, the scene of craft beer. It's almost the same thing. They're all beer, but they're all kind of different in a way. And that's kind of what our business model is. Just have something different that everybody can access, but have a better quality, for about the same price.
So tell us about what we're drinking here today.
So that is a medium roast. It came from a harvest of model beans. That's actually the very first official model bean micro lot that we planted at the farm 3 years ago, actually. So the very first harvest arrived here in end of July, and that is the very last of it. So I roasted the very last 100 pounds Tuesday night. And when that's gone, I'll probably have to wait another year and a half until I can get more of that micro lot. So we don't really do a lot of variations of blends of beans or anything like that. We kind of keep it very traditional to what it is, like coffee back home is. There's no variations. We only have the 3 roasts, so we do the medium roast, which is our traditional roast, and then I just go a little bit on the lighter and a little bit on the darker, and that's our 3 types of roasts.
Wonderful. Yeah, tell you, it's hard to communicate through camera, but it's very flavorful and smooth, and I can tell they've been very careful with the roasting. Very often you get that turn that indicates a little bit too much heat, and this just is really. I am a bit of a cream in my coffee drinker, but I did drink this first without cream, and I can just tell you it's a wonderful.
Thank you.
Coffee,
Yeah,
for sure.
I really take pride in the roast, just because it needs to be consistent, and consistency is key in my business, and it's so different depending on the season, the weather, humidity, all those things come into play. So it's not something you can throw in a electric roaster and push a button and have it be the same all the time. It varies all the time. So it's an art almost, I guess I would say.
Absolutely.
And do you harvest them differently? Like, I don't know anything about how coffee grows basically, and how you would pick it and harvest it.
So I guess now that we're sourcing more product, because we're going through quite a bit of product, so the farm where we started sourcing our product from, they can't keep up with the demand, because they have their own customers and now they have us to supply. I've actually reached out to other producers, other farms in other regions of the country, and they are completely different depending on the elevation, depending on the harvest process. So what you're saying about the process, that there are different kinds or different types of process of how you can harvest coffee. I guess the picking of the coffee itself is the same. Just kind of pick it with your hands, put it in a basket, bring it down to the silos, sort it all out, clean it all out, And then you can either wash it, because you get that little gunk from the cherry. So you can either wash it or let it ferment in its own little fruit. And that gives coffee different flavors depending on how you do it. And then you can dry it either by just letting it dry by sunlight or drying it in silos, and that changes the profile of taste of coffee as well.
And I've seen a coffee bean. Does it grow in a pod or a?
So the bean itself, when they're being put into little plants, they're individual plants and they grow as big as trees. So very similar to processing any type of fruit. You start with a little plant, baby plants. You transfer them out, and then they get bigger and bigger. But with coffee, it takes a lot longer. It takes about 3 to 4 years for the very first production. So the plants need to be very, very mature to start producing good coffee.
Much like tree fruits. Yeah, almost.
Right.
Maybe a little faster
Mm-hmm.
than average tree fruits. And so what's the primary difference between organic specialty coffee you source versus, say, commercial fields?
Well, from my understanding, commercially grown coffee, it's very saturated with pesticides and all kinds of things just to make it clean, I guess, for bugs and things like that.
I'd rather the bugs than the chemicals.
And then in our case, coffee grows around everything. So there's bananas that grows around there. There's mandarins. There's oranges. So the I guess the farms, our farms, they don't really look like an organized farm like you would see.
It's a forest.
It's just a massive forest, which again makes it a lot difficult for the farmers to collect the coffee, because they have to battle all kinds of other plants that grow around it. But I guess just having that organic coffee, it tastes different. All the other flavors do get infused into the coffee, and there's no pesticides. There's other countries that they use a lot of pesticides, and I mean that can't be good for you in any way.
So you're saying those other trees that grow around it helps with the bugs?
They do.
Okay.
Especially banana trees.
Oh.
Because bugs tend to like the sugar more. So they kind of go up into the banana trees, and then they like to live in the leaves of the banana trees, and not so much at the bottom of the coffee plants. So,
Neat.
Yeah.
I've always thought that's something a lot of our agriculture has lost, is this understanding of connection with nature. And you can't, we've reached a point where we're totally enclosing whole orchards and greenhouses to try to artificially control everything, control the bugs, control the weather, and it's to me, it's going in the wrong direction. I think we need to understand that it's a whole ecosystem, and cutting a plant off from the animals, insects, air, wind, it's trying to control something in the wrong way.
Yeah.
If we work more with nature, I think we should be growing more as food forests instead of this monoculture, corn row thing where you look down the line of 1,000 feet of identical little robots that you're trying to make produce food. And I'm sure that when you walk out in those fields, you feel that you're in connection with something bigger than you.
Yeah.
And you're part of a lineage as well.
Yeah. And like I said, I did not appreciate that growing up. I just thought, this is a jungle. Like, what am I doing here?
Where's the coffee?
Yeah, but no, just seeing everything that it does, and seeing everything that's done for us, for my family, it's I really hope they keep it that way, and at least for the model being little micro lot, it will stay like that probably for as long as we have this business. It is, our micro lot is a little more babied. I guess I have somebody there that goes out and cleans out the plants and just kind of takes care of them. Doesn't really do much in terms of applying anything, but they do clean them up just to make sure they're growing healthy. Um, and that's unique as well because you have somebody dedicated to controlling your product, and so it is, again, I keep saying it, but it is a premium product, just like our logo says. It is premium quality.
So so you said you really stick with the 3 types of roast,
Right.
and it's from a single type of coffee bean.
Right.
And did you choose that specifically, or is it something as a tradition in your family that you grow that variety? Or tell me more about. I don't know much about
Right.
coffee varieties.
So the type of seed that grows at the farm, or that they started growing originally at the farm, is called a Katura seed. It is very, very typical. Even I guess it's kind of a mutation from a seed from Ethiopia, and it's the seed that produces the most in, I guess, countries like South America and Brazil, or Colombia and Brazil, sorry. But then there's all kinds of seeds. There's all kinds of mutations of seed that people have created. There's even a seed called Colombian now. But there's so many varietals of seeds and coffee plants that it's endless, and you can make your own if you really wanted to, just by playing with seeds and type of soils and stuff like that. But I guess from our family farm, you get a seed that's called Katura, and then from the other producing farms, I've been getting some seeds that are called Castillo and pink bourbon. That's what it's called.
What?
Pink bourbon.
Pink
Bourbon.
bourbon.
Yes. There's also yellow bourbons. There's endless. But I have been, I guess, getting samples from a lot of farms that have very, very nice coffees, but they're so different. Even though they're all Colombian, every region has a completely different flavor profile, which is so interesting to me. Because at one point we kind of wanted to, I guess, get out of the Colombian coffee scene and start, maybe reaching out to Costa Rica or Guatemala, or even Africa, Ethiopia. But just seeing how many different kinds of coffees there are in Colombia itself, we decided we were just going to stick with Colombian coffee and just do all the regional coffees that it has to offer. So we will have a lot of coffees. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. And so, what part does your blood family play in bringing from Colombia all the way here to Kelowna, BC, to make it happen?
I guess I kind of did everything by myself because my family, even though they live in Colombia and they've been here, they don't really have anything to do with what I do here other than selling me the product. So I do everything myself, the importing, the exporting from Colombia, importing it to Canada, getting it out here, roasting it, distribution. So I guess it's still a family business from farm to cup, but I pretty much do everything myself. Before we started doing this, the farm itself didn't have any export outside of Colombia. So that's actually kind of cool that I was able to get a piece of home out and export it. So that to me was a big achievement when I got my first shipment. I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. And now when we started, I think it was 100 pounds that we brought, and I thought that's
a lot.
That's a lot. And then the next one was like, I don't know, it was like 200 kilos, and I said, whoa, 200 kilos. Now we're doing 2 tons every month and a half, I think it is.
And
Wow.
how do you ship it? Do you fly it?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting question because I started, I guess, learning on how to ship a product that is not ready to consume. So there's different rules on how you enter a product. It depends if it's ready to consume or in raw form. So there's different rules. Anyway, I'm not gonna get into that.
No.
But because of the quantities, when I started, it was easier just to fly it in as a commercial cargo, I guess, package. But now that we're doing larger shipments, we do by sea, so containers. Yeah.
I want to say just that I can see how much it probably is taken for in the homeland to produce those beans and to have farms. Like, how long has the family been growing coffee?
Oh, boy. I guess as long as I can remember.
Many generations.
I would not say many generations. Again, because I wasn't into the business when I was living in Colombia. I didn't really appreciate and I didn't really analyze how people made money or how they made their living. But I'm guessing it was from coffee. But yeah, I mean, for as long as I remember, there's been coffee in our family.
Because we've always heard of Colombian coffee.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
supposed to be,
Yeah.
even though we didn't understand much about it or how it
Yeah,
was done, but
It is famous. I mean, it is considered the world's best mild coffee, and there's a certification that Colombian coffee has, and there's actually a federation of coffee in Colombia that I guess gives you a recognition. If your coffee is good enough to export, then it has to go through them so that they can stamp your product and say, yes, we verify that this is a good product, and now you can export. So there's a lot of political, I guess, paperwork that you need to do, but
Sure.
then it gives you peace of mind that you are getting, a good product.
So over this period, could you say, what are the greatest challenges that you've met and overcome to reach now?
Challenges. I guess being a salesperson. I've never really been in sales before, but because of the type of product that we provide, it doesn't really feel like I'm selling anything. So I guess just having that mindset that I'm selling something to somebody when I'm just really telling you something cool about a product. I guess it was a challenge at first, just trying to figure out how am I going to sell you something. But then it just kind of became natural to just talk about, what it is I'm passionate about, and it turns into sales. So
and that's the best way to sell,
right
Yeah.
when you're passionate.
when you're not actually
Exactly,
selling.
when you're not actually selling.
Yeah.
Well, this is a beautiful story.
Yeah.
I'm really glad I've known you per se through the markets,
Right.
buying coffees and asking for funny little tweaks. My favorite is a lavender latte,
Yes.
and finally getting to sit down and hear more of the story that brought you here,
Yeah.
and how you've literally gone from one table, I think with your oldest son handling the change,
Yeah.
and serving those to this beautiful shop here in Rutland, Kelowna, and I'm just really grateful to
Yeah.
have you come on.
Thank you for coming, and
Yeah.
you're welcome
Pleasure.
back anytime.
Oh,
It was
we'll be
wonderful to
coming.
meet you as well,
Yeah.
and
We'll
hear a
be
little
back.
bit more about coffee
Yes.
than I know.
No, you know a little bit more. Yes.
And it'll be some hot bowls of soup this winter in my future,
Oh, yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah.
And we will definitely come and try some of that soup.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember, we're open 7 days a week now, so anytime.
Awesome.
Great.
Well, that's making it here. Thanks for joining us.